Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast. It's the podcast where we have digital discussions in the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter I go as PD Beats. I'm really pleased to be joined by a former professional hockey player in the National Hockey League. He was a defenseman, played for the Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers, New Jersey Devils, Dallas Stars. We're with Sheldon Souray. Sheldon, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you, PD Beats.
And no, for sure. Like I said, former NHLer, played significant role with Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers as well. Kind of an icebreaker question. When did you decide that you wanted to be a professional hockey player?
Oh, man. I probably didn't decide until, I never decided. You don't make those decisions, but I knew I was going to get committed to it probably when I was, 17, and I got ranked for the draft was kind of when things got a little bit more real for me.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my dad wanted me to be a hockey player. You know how it is in Canada. It's a way to bond with your dad, your mom, whoever your parents, pawn you off to. So it was a family thing for me. My uncles and everyone, was getting me to practice, and hockey was a way to keep me out of trouble more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never the best player on my team. I was never, playing AAA. I was never doing any of that stuff. So growing up, I grew up in Edmonton, and I loved the Oilers. My favorite defensemen were Chris Chelios and Scott Stevens. And they were all stars. They were, the best in the league, really, at what I thought was an all-around defenseman. And, I never thought I would. That was kind of a pipe dream. It's like, winning the lottery. I want to win $20 million, and it just doesn't seem realistic. But once I started playing major junior, and that was, taking up a lot of time. I don't know, when the ratings came out for the draft the first time is when I thought maybe someone sees something in me that my dad doesn't, or people close to me don't. That someone else actually took notice of me, and that's kind of when it took off.
No, absolutely. Like you mentioned, grew up in Edmonton. You played for the Oilers. You mentioned, Chelios, Stevens, All Stars. You were also you were an NHL All Star, and you got to play in those games as well. As a defenseman, you had a lot of you provided a lot of production offensively. You got a lot of points. A few 50+ point seasons. When did you kind of was there ever, when you were playing, a time where your role significantly changed? Because people that followed you over your career, maybe did, when you started, you played with New Jersey, but then when you started with Montreal, people got to know you. Season after season, you became more and more of an offensive producing defenseman. When did you find, did you the role that you had over the years? How would you describe yourself as a defenseman you were?
Well, getting drafted by New Jersey at a time when they were, winning cups, and Jacques Lemaire and Lou Lamoriello, that kind of era, they were grooming me to be, the next Ken Danico, not Scott Stevens for sure, but a Ken Danico type, Lyle Odeline, stay at home, be physical, and take care of playing defense, and being a bigger guy. They wanted me to play physical, and I had no problem, playing that role. So that was kind of the role that was given to me. I will say, when I was in New Jersey, I got sat out one night against the Rangers, and this I think was my first or second year. And Jacques Lemaire was a tough coach, but there was never any gray area, right? And I remember I got sat out, and I thought I was playing great. And he sat me out, and he said, "You're just not doing enough. You got to be more involved offensively and stuff like that." And I just didn't see that in myself, even though in juniors I put up numbers. I was also a physical guy, throughout my career. So when it really changed, I got traded to Montreal in March of 2000, and I played a season there. I played the end of the year, and then I played some of the next year, and I got hurt. I hurt my wrist, and at that point, I just had my family situation was I got married, and I just had a baby, and now they're saying my career is going to end. And I remember sitting in the press box, and all this stuff's going on, and I certainly didn't want my career to end. I had a lot to gain by keeping on playing. And I was sitting in the press box, and I was sitting with one of our scouts and an assistant coach, and they were talking about we could use a big shot on the point, and a guy to just move the puck out of the end quickly and out of the defensive zone and stuff like that. And man, I don't know what happened, but I was sitting up there, and I'd never played. I don't even think a shift on the power play before that in 5 years. And I was thinking I could do that if I got the chance. If I got just to play again, that I would put more effort into being a better player and not a better guy off the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of changed. I came back from that injury, and just thought I could do more. And Claude Julien was our coach at the time, and we had a couple good assistant coaches that saw something in me, and I don't know. I got the opportunity, and I just wanted to run with it as far as I could. And I knew what my identity was, and that was to be a physical dude and make sure my teammates felt safe, and make sure that I made life hard on the other guys. But I just got this opportunity, and I played with great players. I mean, it wasn't me. I just had to shoot the puck, but guys had to get it to me, Saku and Kovalev and Mike Ryder and Markov. I mean, these were like top shelf players. So I just got an opportunity, and tried to make the most of it, and it just worked out.
I mean, it's a pretty loaded question, but like, what was it like playing for the Montreal Canadiens? I mean, what were some of the your like your most like your favorite memories playing at the Bell Center? I mean, it's such a passionate organization with like such an amazing track record, and you were part of it, and you were a significant player for many years for the Montreal Canadiens. What did you take from your experiences with the Montreal Canadiens, with the Habs?
Man, some of my greatest memories of playing hockey are in Montreal, for sure. I wish every player got a chance to play there to just see how special it was. When I grew up in Edmonton, I hated the Habs. When I got traded to Montreal, half my family, who I thought were Oiler fans, called me and were like, "Hey, you got traded to Montreal? What do you got?" They were so undercover Habs fans, and then half were like so mad that I got traded there, right? When I got there and got to experience what playing like in a real hockey city was like, it really just blew me away. I guess the best analogy I could give is it's like playing for the Yankees. It's the mecca of hockey, and believe that there's no play. Visiting teams love coming in there. Players love playing for the Habs. I certainly did. We had some lean years when I was there, but we also had a couple great playoff runs. We had some great players to play with. I got to play with Saku in Anaheim towards the end of my career, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so many memories, and none of them are real personal. They're more like being involved in the comeback against the Bruins in the playoffs. And my favorite memory in hockey and maybe in life, besides my children being born, is when Saku came back the game from having cancer and getting the ovation he did. And I mean, I don't know if I'd gone to that point emotionally in probably 20 years, you know what I mean? And that was a life moment. It wasn't just a hockey moment, it was a life moment, and I'm glad I got to experience it in Montreal, and the fans were just amazing, and that's my favorite hockey moment that I played there. But so many good things, man, like having a little bit of success there as a team, and individually people treated me great. I always use the thing, like when you play in Montreal and you win, you want to go out, you want to, dinners are free, valet parking is free. And when you lose, you don't go out. Nobody, everyone wants to tell you what you're doing wrong and how bad you are. So it's one of those places that people are just passionate, and you got to have thick skin, but you also, you got to have thick skin the other way too, because people are real quick to praise you and thank you for representing the city and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just had an amazing time there, amazing memories.
It's almost like they've gone full circle as well, because big hard shot on the blue line with double S Sheldon Souray, and now big slap shot on the point with Shay Webber. Who do you think? Who this like? Do you think like who? I don't think it's fair to say, but like who has the hardest shot? Are we allowed to talk about that?
I think he proved he does. He's a machine. I remember playing the All Star game with him in 2009 in Montreal. Might have been his first All Star game, and I was excited to see Scotty Niedermayer, and I was playing in Edmonton, and I was real proud that I made that team and was able to come back to Montreal. But I sat beside Shay Webber in the dressing room, and he was quiet, but I remember looking at him and being like, this kid is going to be something special. He just was, he didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to do anything. He just went out and played hockey, the way it should be played, in my opinion. And I was real surprised when they made that trade. I think it was a bold move on probably both teams' parts, but Montreal got a real character guy, and not saying they didn't lose one, but they got a real character guy who helps that team in what they needed. So I'm a big fan of his.
Is it so? I mean, is it safe to say that because the game has changed, so many things have changed, like rules wise, the style of play, the players in the league are unbelievable. I mean, you played for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I'm sure like you're kind of just amazed at players like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl that have emerged. What have you think has been the biggest change since you playing to now? Like, if you're watching any of the games and say, wow, like this has changed significantly in the NHL as like since the last time I played. Has there been anything that come to mind in terms of kind of the changes of in the game? I mean, you're watching it, you're not playing in the league anymore, so it's kind of hard maybe for you to see because you're not actually there. But like, what have you noticed as some of the biggest like changes or how the game has evolved in the National Hockey League? I mean, it's fast game now as well too. So
yeah, I mean, everything's changed. The rules have changed. I mean, I know that I got out at the right time. People ask me if I wish I still played, and towards the end of it, the rules were changing for a guy like myself, which is just another testament to a guy like Shay Webber, who's been able to adapt to the new rules and still find success in that. I seen the other day someone barely slashed a guy and they got like a $2,000 fine. I was lucky to play as long as I did in the era. I mean, in 2005 when we had the lockout, we came back and the rules changed, and it made it harder on guys who were physical, big and slow like me. It made it a little harder, and it just has really changed for the better. I think from a fan's point of view, it's faster. The players are getting bigger. There's more goals scored. It's more wide open, but people play defense. The goalies are amazing. I think it's a great game. I enjoy watching it. I don't sit and TiVo it and pretend to scout every game, but I think it's a great guys like Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, like you said. I mean, these guys are like such quality players, and there's so many of those guys around the league, and the NHL is going to be good for a lot of years, but. For myself, I was lucky to get out when I did, so I didn't get too exposed.
When guys like Ovechkin and Crosby came in the league when you were still playing, was there talk in the locker rooms, like whether it was in Montreal, whether it was in Edmonton, or you were with Dallas for a little bit, where it's like, wow, like guys, like the game is changing now. These kids are coming in the league, like it's not like it used to be. Was there any discussion like that ever when guys like that came in the league? And because that's that's the big change I remember when guys like that came in the league. It was the style of play, the skill. It just became a whole different NHL.
Well, those two guys, I think, in particular, are generational players. Obviously, Sid the Kid is maybe since Gretzky, the best player to come along, and Ovechkin is right there with him. So those guys, come in at the same time, and you probably remember we played Pittsburgh early in that season, and we lost in overtime to him when Crosby. Theodore was our goalie, and he just won the Hart Trophy, and Crosby came in and made him look silly and backhand roofed it to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were sitting on the bench going like, oh my God, like that's the new player. That's the new skill level of guys coming up. And there was talk, there was rule changes. There was like a combination of things that happened at that time. And those two guys really, really changed the game in a short period of time. And they still are. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely. I ask a lot of players. I've had a lot of like players that currently play junior hockey, play the NHL, play the AHL. But you're actually the first like former player that I'm asking this, so I'm really curious to see what your opinion is on this. A lot of people especially with social media, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of, and then there's a lot of people that have blogs and are commenting and want to be, these talking heads, these analysts about hockey, and that's a great opportunity for them. But I wanted to know from you, because there's a lot of people on the internet that think they know everything and they're gonna analyze the game and everything. And you see it now. It's the holidays, the World Juniors. That's the big tournament where everyone's talking and they're kids. You know what I mean? And the pressure, and it's unbelievable. What do you think some of the misconceptions are towards NHL hockey players, Sheldon? What I mean by that is things that people assume about you guys on the day-to-day, and that is maybe not true or something they didn't know. Like, for example, I've had some serious answers and I have some not so serious answers. Some players said the biggest misconception is that people think we actually take care of our hair and make sure our hair is really good. That was brought up by a few. But then the other ones is people think that it's just like hockey all the time. Like there's no room, there's no time for anything else. And that's not true. We make an effort. Our schedules do allow us to have a life. I mean, maybe that's also junior hockey and NCAA. NHL obviously is going to be different. But anything come to your mind about maybe some of the misconceptions or things that people don't necessarily know about hockey players, or in your experience specifically?
Well, I think in our day and age, just in general, anybody can go on whatever, Twitter or Instagram or any kind of social media platform, say something and hope it sticks, whether it's, sports or life or anything. So I think, a lot of people see celebrities or athletes in a public eye and can make judgments and think that that's true because they've seen something on the internet. The real reporters from whatever, Sports Illustrated or ESPN, they typically don't report on any garbage. But I think the biggest misconception that people have, and I mean, I hear it all the time in all different sports, is that guys, shut up, don't say anything because you're making a lot of money. You're just play hockey or whatever. I mean, people, I think, forget that we're human, that hockey players, athletes, celebrities are human to a certain extent. And, when you play a sport professionally, you open yourself up for a lot of criticism. Obviously, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to accept that. The games are the reward. The games are what you put all the effort in for, and that's your reward, is getting put in a lineup to go and represent your city, represent your town, represent your league, represent yourself. I think, and I can just tell you a quick story. I was in Dallas, and it was the first time I played in the league for 13 or 14 years. Yep. It was the first time I had a dad's trip, and we played, Dallas has a funky schedule. I think we played in St. Louis and then went to Nashville, and I think we went up to Detroit, and then we went back to Dallas. And we played those games in 5 days, with travel. And I remember after the second game, with the travel, my dad was sleeping in the back of back of the plane. When he first got on the plane, he's like, "Oh, this is great, private plane, the food, staying in our, the Ritz-Carlton." And 3 days in the trip, he was so tired that he couldn't, stay awake for after the game and even talk about the game.
Yeah.
And that's the life that players have. You practice every day, and you mentioned it. It's like you don't have time for anything else, but you do. You don't really. You make time for your family and friends that come in, but ultimately you're taking care of tickets. You're in practice. You're working out, and the summers now have become. I mean, you see the commercials for Connor McDavid and these BioSteel camps, and they're popping up all over. It's a full-time job, and you play the games as a reward. So I think people think that it's easy, that you somehow got handpicked out of a bunch of people and put in this prestigious life. Anyone who's made it to that level has really made a life commitment to dedicate themselves to the sport, and once you make it, that's when the hard part starts, because now you got guys who want your job, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pressure filled. It's hard. It takes up a lot of time, but at the end of the day, it's a wonderful life. The guys are very blessed to be doing it. But I think there's a misconception that just shut up. You're just a hockey player. Yeah. Just do your job. There's a lot that goes into it. And again, we're human. We have opinions. Not everything that people say is true, and sometimes that can get to guys. I see guys on Twitter all the time trying to respond to people, and I don't think that helps either. But it's the world we live in.
No, absolutely. Well, we'll wrap up. Sheldon, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you for the insight, and thank you for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course, man. I'm a big fan. Good luck with everything moving forward, bud.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Where can people follow you on social media? What are the handles?
Oh, dude, I don't even know. I'm the worst.
I'll make sure we put them in the description so people can.
Yeah, put them in for me, and then send me a link to what they are. I don't even know.
Perfect.
Boring.
Thank you so much, man, and all the best in the future.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, this has been Popturnative. You can catch previous episodes of Popturnative on our YouTube channel. You could click the subscribe button and leave us a like or a comment. Popturnative.com for more content as well. You can listen on the go on iTunes as well. Until next time, this is Sheldon Souray and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popturnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.